single mom struggles to feed her twins discover the heartwarming moment a billionaire reveals his true self. Emily's heart raced as she glanced at the towering mountains of bills that suffocated their tiny kitchen table. She could hear Lucas and Noah laughing in the living room, their voices intertwining with the cacophony of autumn's chill outside. Distant echoes of leaves crunching underfoot reminded her of the fleeting moments of joy. But joy felt so distant today. With every second at the diner, the weight of her responsibilities pressed like an anvil on her chest. A single mom at 34, wrestling with the chaos of spirited twin boys and a life that seemed to slip through her fingers like sand. As the clock ticked closer to closing time, she flipped burgers and poured steaming coffee, every sip fueling her dreams of a better tomorrow. The diner's fluorescent lights buzzed above like her relentless worries. Would tomorrow bring eviction? Would the boys understand if supper was just toast again? Would she ever escape this endless cycle of worry and toil? And then, as if the universe conspired to test her grit, her old car sputtered and wheezed, finally giving out in front of Nathan's sprawling mansion. It towered over her like a monument to everything she was not. The contrast was striking, Emily, weary and worn, battling darkness, while inside, Nathan, the reclusive billionaire, watched shadows dance behind his window, lonely and regretting his own isolation. Little did she know, Nathan's gaze was fixated on the resilience in her struggle. He felt a knot in his stomach, a mix of guilt and admiration. A man surrounded by wealth, yet aching for connection, understanding that true richness didn't dwell in gold or properties but in the pulse of a community. As time rolled on, Emily's frustration began to brew, intensified by the looming threat of eviction. Nathan, stirred by compassion, took action quietly. He began leaving food donations at the local pantry, wanting to support his community without the prying eyes of high society. But his newfound purpose sparked whispers amongst the elite, debates of moral responsibility versus the stigma of wealth. At Cedar Grove's annual fall festival, the air buzzed with excitement and pumpkin spice aromas. Kids darted through corn mazes, joy illuminating their faces, while Emily felt like an outsider. The hollow ache of despair filled her chest as she scanned the joyous crowd. She didn't know how much longer she could hold the weight of her boys' futures in her trembling hands. And then the unexpected happened. The secret of Nathan's generosity was revealed, and suddenly, confusion set in among friends and neighbors. They turned to Emily, realization dawning, judgments shifting like the autumn leaves around them. With courage swelling within her, Emily stepped forward. "This is my life," she cried, voice trembling but loud enough to cut through the murmur. "Every day is a struggle, but I keep fighting for Lucas and Noah." The silence that fell was thick, heavy with collective reflection. Nathan lingered in the shadows, heart pounding, feeling the weight of what was unfolding. Would his efforts actually deepen the divide he sought to bridge? And just as the crowd's murmurs evolved into quiet contemplation, Nathan took a breath, ready to step forward. Emily's heart raced, questions swirling. Was this community finally going to see their own biases, unearth sympathy beneath the surface, or would they continue their distancing? As the tension hung palpably in the air, the undeniable question emerged: can change stem from the most unlikely of alliances, or would love remain shackled by prejudice? Nathan stepped from the shadows, his tall frame cutting through the dim twilight as the festival lights sparkled above. Every eye was drawn to him, whispers trailing like autumn leaves in the wind. He felt the heat of scrutiny, yet his heart beat with the need to connect, to bridge the chasm that wealth had carved. "Emily," he said, his voice steady but soft, "let me help." The words rang out, enveloping the crowd in a shared breath, as if time paused for a moment. Emily's heart raced. Help? After years of struggling alone, could she really accept it? Her gaze met his, searching for sincerity. A flicker of hope lit in her chest, but vulnerability clawed at her throat. "Help? You think that's what I need?" She shot back, the edge in her voice surprising her. "I didn't ask for your pity." Nathan recoiled slightly, the hurt registering in his eyes. "It's not pity," he replied, his sincerity cutting through her anger. "After seeing your fight, I want to be a part of the solution, not just a spectator." A murmur ran through the crowd again, this time an undertow of curiosity rather than judgment. Faced with the giant of a man who had resources she couldn't even fathom, Emily felt small and powerful all at once. "And what does that mean for me?" she challenged, her breath rapid, her heart caught in a storm. "What can you offer someone like me?" "It means understanding," Nathan began, but the crowd's uproar interrupted him. "Just like that billionaire wants to swoop in and save you?" A voice rang out from the back. "Like he ever cared before?" The question hung in the air like a dark cloud threatening rain. Anger flickered in Nathan's eyes, but it was nothing compared to the storm building in Emily's chest. She turned to the voice, a neighbor she couldn't place amid the throng. "You think I wanted to be in this position? You think I'm leaning on him?" The crowd shifted uneasily, some nodding while others crossed their arms, deeply entrenched in their biases. The weight of their stares pressed against her, and in that moment, she realized she wasn't just fighting for herself but for all single parents who felt invisible and defeated. "Nobody asked me when I decided to be a mom," she shouted. "No one asked me to raise 2 boys alone. But I'm here, I'm fighting." Tears streamed down her cheeks, the release of tension spilling over. Empathy washed through the crowd, gooey like caramel sauce on an apple, and slowly, faces softened, Nathan took another step forward, vulnerability shining in his gaze. "You're right, Emily. I've been watching from a distance, but I can help with small actions, not grand gestures. No one needs saving. We can do this together." The honesty of his words echoed in her heart. It felt like their connection deepened in that moment, 2 souls seeking solace, each desperately holding fragments of hope. As murmurs turned to supportive cheers and claps, Emily knew the battle wasn't over. Would her community embrace this unexpected alliance? Or would change remain elusive, forever just beyond her grasp? Questions swirled like the autumn leaves around them. Could she let the walls she built begin to crumble? Could she tentatively trust Nathan and a community that once turned away? Amid the festivity, a new anxiety twisted in her gut, a question waiting in the whispers of the crowd. Would her fragile heart find the courage to accept change when so much was at stake? The crowd buzzed with a mix of astonishment and shifting alliances, and Emily's heart thudded in her chest like a drum. The cheers around her felt distant, muffled by the swirling storm of fears and hopes. This was a turning point, but what lay just beyond it was blurry, clouded by doubt. She looked at Nathan, really looked at him. His imposing figure seemed grounded, steady. But was it enough? Could she, in a world so full of judgment, put her faith in a man whose life felt so different from hers? Together sounded beautiful, but she feared the tremors of trust would shatter upon the rocky ground of her past experiences. "I don't know if I can," she uttered softly, unsure if he'd even heard her above the growing noise. Her voice felt fragile, like a bird poised on a shaky branch. Nathan leaned in, his expression earnest. "You don't have to decide everything now. Just take one step. Life is full of them, Emily. I won't force you. Just give me a chance to show you." She inhaled deeply, the air thick with anticipation. The crowd was starting to rally behind her now. Faces she recognized slowly morphing from skepticism to curiosity. A woman with a baby strapped to her back stepped forward. "We're with you, Emily. You're not alone in this." The woman's words sparked a sense of camaraderie that made Emily's heart swell. They had always been a community, but this was different. It felt like they were awakening together, pushing back against years of isolation. "Yeah, we all struggle," another voice chimed in. "It's not easy. We get it." For every naysayer, more voices arose in support. It became a swell, a chorus of shared experiences that filled the air with warmth. Emily felt her walls tremble. Could she really lean into this? Nathan seemed to sense it too. He straightened, gathering his resolve. "We can organize resources, help with childcare, supply food, maybe find jobs. Together. It's not about charity. It's about community support." The suggestion hung momentarily in the air, sparking momentum. Would the community rally? Could they reshape the narrative together? Suddenly, the doubt that had gripped her heart so tightly began to loosen. She looked out into the crowd, meeting the eyes of the single parents, neighbors, friends, even the ones who had doubted her. There was a flicker of energy in the air, a charge of possibility. "Maybe we can," she said, this time firmer, a smile breaking through her tears. "Maybe together, we can change things." The crowd erupted again, cheering like a wave crashing against a rocky shore. Emily felt her own spirit lifting with them, an empowering energy coursing through her. This was the beginning, a whisper of hope, a gathering of souls who wanted to fight, to thrive, and to reclaim what had been lost. But just as the excitement peaked, an unfamiliar face pushed through. A man in a suit, with sharp features and a deliberate gait, approached Nathan. He whispered something in his ear, his tone serious. Nathan's expression shifted. Emily's heart plunged. Questions filled her mind. Was there trouble? Anxiety rippled through the crowd as they watched the exchange unfold, the earlier joy now tinged with tension. What news drew Nathan's attention so abruptly? Was this alliance already being threatened before it had a chance to begin? As the crowd held its breath, the energy shifted dramatically. Would the community's dreams be dashed before they could even start building? The thrill of hope was suddenly laced with the fear of collapse. In that moment, it felt like everything was about to change once more. Emily's heart raced as she watched Nathan speak with the man in the suit. She could see the tension in Nathan's shoulders, the way his brow furrowed as he listened intently to whatever urgent news was being delivered. The crowd, once buzzing with excitement, fell into an anxious silence, eyes darting between the two men. What is happening? She thought, dread creeping into her chest. Her mind churned with uncertainty. What could possibly threaten this fragile moment of unity? She felt the energy in the air dissipate, the warmth of hope giving way to an icy grip of fear. The suited man stepped back, allowing Nathan to turn and face Emily, his expression now a mixture of resolve and concern. "Emily, there is something we need to discuss," Nathan said, his tone shifting, dripping with urgency. The crowd swayed nervously, their earlier excitement replaced by unease. What was going on? Had she pushed too hard, too fast? Emily felt the chill of retreat fill her veins, and for a heartbeat, a part of her considered backing down completely. But then she remembered the voices that had risen up for her, the community rallying behind a shared struggle. She had seen what they could accomplish together. She wouldn't let fear steal that from them. No, she murmured to herself, firing her resolve as she met Nathan's gaze. No turning back now. What is it? She asked, her voice steadier than she felt. Do we need to stop? Have I ruined everything? It's not that, Nathan said quickly, reaching out to her as if to shield her from the weight of whatever news was to follow. There's been a development with the funding. Some people are backing out. The word struck Emily like a blow. A murmur rippled through the crowd, disappointment palpable in the air. The dreams they had begun to build were flickering like candlelight in a tempest. She felt her knees wobble slightly. The thought of letting down the community, the friends and neighbors who had just begun to trust her, gnawed at her insides. What do we do? She asked, desperation coloring her voice. How can we keep this from falling apart? Nathan considered her for a moment, searching her face for the strength he knew she possessed. We're not done yet. We can improvise, come up with a new plan. Don't let their doubt become ours. As his words sank in, Emily's heart began to beat a little stronger. She could feel the pulse of the crowd. They wanted to believe and hope. It was time to rally them, to ignite the flames of determination once more. Everyone. She called out, her voice ringing out despite the doubt hanging like a storm cloud. We may have encountered a setback, but setbacks don't define us. We are more than the words of a few doubters. The crowd swelled with murmurs, uncertain at first, but as she spoke, they began to nod, to murmur support for her resolute stance. She spotted the woman with the baby, the one who had first stood up for her. We've come too far to quit now. Emily implored, her heart hammering in her chest. We can fight for this together. We can brainstorm ideas, find alternative resources. The crowd started to chant, voices rising in harmony. Together. Together. It was a heartbeat, a rhythm that pulsed through the community, wrapping them in unity once again. But just as hope sparked anew, another voice sliced through the air, sharp as glass. And what makes you think anyone will care after this? You're just a single mom. The crowd fell silent, the words like a cold wave washing over them, bringing doubts back to the surface. Emily's heart raced again, this time with panic. Was she brave enough to push against that kind of judgment? Would they stand with her, or would they fall away, convinced that she would let them down? As she looked around, the tension hung tight in the air, stifling. She drew a breath, steeling herself to answer the challenge head-on. Because I know this community, she said fiercely, passion igniting in her voice. I know we can rise above that judgment, rise together. Will you stand with me? The moment lingered, heavy with uncertainty. Would they be her anchor, or would they drift into the sea of doubt once more? In that charged silence, a fleeting thought crossed her mind. What if this was the moment that defined everything? Would she have the courage to seize it? Would they, and would anyone else dare to join the fight? The crowd held its breath, waiting for what would happen next. The air was thick with tension, every pair of eyes locked onto Emily's. In that silence, a wind stirred through the crowd, as if nature itself held its breath. She could see the challenge lingering in the faces before her, a mix of uncertainty and hope. Suddenly, a voice cut through the quiet, softer but imbued with fierce determination. It was the woman with the baby. We believe in you, Emily. She shouted, her voice rising like a flame against the darkness that threatened to engulf them all. The sound rippled through the crowd, flicking on a switch of solidarity. One by one, others joined in, rallying behind Emily. We believe. You're not alone. The chorus built, gathering strength, resonating through the air like a powerful anthem. Emily felt a swell of energy surge through her, igniting a fire deep within. See? She said, her voice rising to match their passion, this is what we're about. We pull together when the tide gets rough. Pulses quickened, fists raised in determination. She felt her heart racing in time with the community's throbbing beat. Yet, even as these voices lifted her, a knot of despair lingered in her stomach. The reminder of the man's harsh words clawed at her thoughts. Just a single mom who would ever care. But it didn't stop there. Emily wasted no time crafting her next statement. I may not have all the resources. I may only be one person. But together, we've got strength beyond measure. She scanned the crowd, eyes bright but fierce. So tell me, what do we want? What are we willing to do? A ripple of excitement danced through the crowd, their voices blending together in a chant. Fight! 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 The energy was electric, sparking hope and daring to overlook the shadows of doubt that in the midst of it all, she spotted Nathan, watching with a faint smile playing on his lips, even as uncertainty flickered in his eyes. He understood now, he had seen the flames in her spirit, the firm belief that fueled it. She nodded at him, a silent plea for support. Let us be honest, she continued, her intensity unwavering. This won't be easy. We'll face obstacles, criticism, maybe even failure. But what is success without a little struggle? What is community if we don't lift each other up? Another surge of enthusiasm rippled through the crowd. Faces softened, sparks danced in their eyes, and Emily could see the doubt shifting, replaced by something stronger, an undeniable bond. Their murmurs became a roar. We're with you. We'll help. But through it all, Emily felt an undercurrent of fear tugging at her heart. What if she faltered? What if her strength faded at the first sign of hardship? Would they still believe she could lead them? Then, in a moment that felt both visceral and tender, a young man stepped forward, his own fear evident but swelling with hope. Emily, he said, voice firm, you won't walk this alone. We're here, and we'll figure this out together. Her chest tightened, tears threatening to spill over. This was it. This was the moment she dreamed of. A community willing to fight alongside her, to uplift and support, no matter how hard the journey might be. As the crowd commenced another chant, Emily's heart swelled. For a fleeting moment, she allowed herself to imagine what they could accomplish. She envisioned gardens blooming, children laughing, and families coming together in places they created, but amidst her euphoria, a newer, sharper concern gripped her. How would they manage the funding challenges with dwindling resources? And as if the universe was listening, she caught sight of Nathan kneeling down, his expression animated, engaging with a young girl who had raised her hand. It sparked yet another wave in her chest, the realization that hope could be born from anywhere, even the young and vulnerable. She took a breath, adrenaline pumping as she realized they were on the precipice of something beautiful. If only she could keep the flame alive with fresh determination igniting her spirit, she prepared to shout out her next words, hoping to grow the fire within her community. And if we could find a way to bring new supporters to our cause, would you stand with me? Ahead lay uncertainty, but one thing was clear, either they would burst through the door together, or it might close before they ever had a chance. The crowd hung on to her words, every heart waiting for the verdict. What would they uncover as they took their first steps? What lay on the other side of fear? The response was instant, a wave of cheers and claps that echoed through the park like thunder. Emily felt their energy wash over her, filling every crack of doubt with a burning resolve. As their clamor reached a fevered pitch, she could see more and more faces, now strangers who were swiftly transforming into allies, their eyes glistening with renewed purpose. What about a community fundraising effort? Someone shouted from the back, a middle-aged man whose voice rang bright with excitement. The suggestion ignited a flurry of ideas, thoughts cascading like pebbles creating ripples in a pond. Yes! Emily exclaimed, her heart racing faster. We can organize events. Potlucks at the community center, bake sales, car washes. Whatever it takes. The crowd's enthusiasm surged again like a wave crashing against shores, faces uplifted, and hands waving in agreement. They were dreamers, each one picturing what could be a new beginning, a vibrant community that flourished together. She felt the warmth of their hope wrap around her like a cozy blanket, but with it came the sobering reminder of reality. What if the money isn't enough? Nathan's voice broke through her thoughts, creating a knot in her stomach. She met his gaze, torn between the optimism of the moment and the numb truth pressing close. What if it's not just about the funds? Deep down, Emily knew he was right. She had seen many well-meaning efforts come to a screeching halt when finances ran dry. How could she keep them moving forward when the stakes felt so high? Okay, let us tackle that too, she said, swallowing hard but pushing past the fear. What resources do we have? Skills? Talents? Can we barter those? We're all sitting on something valuable. The group quieted briefly, considering her words. Then, an avalanche of voices began to emerge, ideas leaping from one person to another like fireflies in the evening dusk. Emily felt a flutter in her chest, realizing that each suggestion brought them a little closer to something bigger than themselves. We could start a mentorship program, proposed the young man who had earlier stepped forward. Everyone's got something they can teach others. Imagine what we could accomplish if we shared our knowledge. Yes. Came another voice, and Emily beamed as she saw the spark ignite among the crowd. Suddenly, a symphony of voices filled the air, everyone contributing suggestions, visions, and plans. They were no longer bound by fear or doubt, they were a force of nature, yet, as their ideas flowed, a shadow of uncertainty loomed in the back of Emily's mind. What if they rallied too strongly and expectations became mountains too steep to climb? What if the practical realities crushed them before they even got started? Listen, she interjected, raising her hands to quiet the noise. Let us take baby steps. We build together, and if we stumble along the way, it's okay. It's all part of our journey, right? The crowd nodded, understanding, some even lingering on her words. She could see in their eyes the same hesitation mirrored in her own heart. But the glimmer of determination was there too, growing stronger by the moment. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Emily felt grounded by the weight of the moment. Before them lay a path filled with uncertainty, but the community was ready to forge ahead. Tomorrow, she said, her voice steady and sure, we meet. We start planning. Let us gather our ideas, our resources, and build this together. They all began to disperse, filled with a sense of purpose and connection. As Emily turned to leave, Nathan stepped up beside her, a softer expression in his eyes. "You did great," he said, his voice low and sincere. "Thanks," she replied with a shy smile, a warmth blooming inside her. But her heart still trembled at the enormity of what was ahead. "Do you think we can really do this?" she whispered, more to herself than to Nathan. He nodded, doubt replaced by genuine belief. "If anyone can rally this community, it's you. Just, don't lose sight of what you need to." His words hung in the air as more questions bubbled within her. They had lit a fire to their journey, but would they all be able to shoulder the weight of it when the challenges broke against them? As they walked away, she cast one last glance at the fading sunlight, feeling the weight of hope settle in her chest. The pathway ahead was uncharted and full of promise, but lurking beneath were the shadows of trials yet unseen. Would they uncover the strength needed to navigate through those shadows? What would the next day bring? Emily woke up with the sun filtering through her curtains, illuminating the room in soft hues of gold. A new day had dawned, one filled with promise and the weight of responsibility. She could feel the excitement buzzing under her skin, a mix of hope and trepidation. Today, they would finally gather to begin putting plans into action. After a quick breakfast with her twins, who were oblivious to the developments of the previous day, she tucked them into their respective corners of the couch with their favorite cartoons. Their laughter echoed through the house, and for a moment, the challenges ahead were forgotten. Emily gathered her notes, each sheet filled to the brim with ideas and suggestions from the community meeting. She thumbed through them, her heart racing at the possibilities. As she made her way to the community center, the air felt electric. The street was alive, neighbors were already out, their voices mingling in an optimistic symphony of chatter and laughter. She noticed familiar faces, Mrs. Jenkins, who had the best cookie recipes, the Lewis kids, who were known for their energy and spirit, and Mr. Friedman, who always had a tool for any job. Each person she passed filled her with warmth. They were coming together, united. Once she entered the community center, Emily was taken aback by the sight. Tables were arranged in a semicircle, adorned with paper and pens, and a whiteboard stood at the front, already filled with ideas from the previous evening. Faces filled the chairs, young and old, each bearing the spark of determination. "Thank you all for coming." Emily smiled, feeling the weight of encouragement around her. "Today, we're turning our ideas into action." Her heart swelled at the sight of volunteers eager to contribute. As the brainstorming session kicked off, ideas flowed freely. They discussed event themes, potential venues, and resources within the community. Emily allowed herself to get lost in the enthusiasm, her earlier fears dissipating into the background. Ideas for a huge neighborhood yard sale, art shows, and collaboration with local businesses filled the board. She felt genuinely giddy, but in the back of her mind, Nathan's words reminded her to stay grounded. "Don't forget about the food," someone called out, pulling her from her daydream. "Yes. That's a great point," she replied, forcing her cheeks to stay flush with excitement instead of the nervousness bubbling beneath. "How about a potluck? We can ask everyone to bring a dish. More connections, more fun." The suggestion triggered a wave of chatter. The room felt alive, a whirlwind of laughter and determination. They divided into groups, assigning tasks to ensure that no one person took on too much. Emily felt a fire ignite within her as she heard people affirming one another's ideas and growing more connected through this shared purpose. But in the midst of the thrill, a shadow crossed Emily's mind. What if the enthusiasm faded once people returned to their busy lives? What if, a week from now, they forgot the vision they had held so close today? As Emily fostered each group, she made sure to encourage the exchange of personal stories, why they were there, why they cared. During one particularly touching moment, a younger member shared how her late grandmother used to organize community dinners, which resonated deeply with many in the room. Tears glistened in her eyes as she spoke. "We could honor her memory by bringing this community together, just like she did." The group fell silent for a moment, each person reflecting on the deeper meaning behind their efforts. Emily felt a lump form in her throat as she saw this shift in her peers. They weren't just volunteering, they were sharing part of their lives, shedding some of their burdens by stepping into the light with others. This was what she had hoped for, a sense of belonging. Finally, as the afternoon grew long and the group began to wind down, Emily gathered everyone again. "We're a team," she said, her voice steady yet emotional. "Let us make this happen. Let us support each other through the good and the challenging." Their nods and murmurs of agreement swept through her like a warm breeze. She could sense a bond forming, stronger than the challenges they faced. But as people filtered out with their assignments and excitement, Emily was left with the same shadow creeping back. Although everyone was enthusiastic, she couldn't shake the feeling that pushing forward would not be as easy as it had felt this day. A sudden thought broke through her reverie. Amid all the positivity, could they face the eventual hardships together? And what if one unlikely ally, far removed from their numbers, had a role to play in their destiny? As Emily turned to leave, her heart raced at the thought of what awaited them outside this safe space. What had she yet to learn about the people in her community? What untapped support could emerge from the shadows to help turn their dreams into reality? Emily stepped outside, the sun casting its warm rays on her shoulders. A gentle breeze picked up, whispering promises of change. She took a deep breath, inhaling the scents of fresh grass and blooming flowers surrounding the community center. There was comfort here, but also a quiet urgency. The thought of connecting further with her neighbors filled her heart with a mix of hope and fear. She had seen their potential when they rallied together today, yet she couldn't shake the worries that loomed like storm clouds overhead. Would they really hold on to this spirit? Or would life's distractions pull them apart again? Her mind wandered to her twins, playing at home, blissfully unaware. She could hear their laughter echo in her thoughts, a reminder of what she was fighting for. Yet, the struggles of single motherhood loomed large, and sometimes it felt like she was carrying an anchor instead of a dream. As she walked along the bustling street, a car pulled up beside her. The window rolled down and she instinctively recognized the face of Jack Warren, the wealthy businessman who often floated above the crowd at social events, soaring in status yet somehow distant. "Emily," he called, his tone surprisingly warm. "Do you have a minute?" Her heart raced as she approached. Why was he seeking her out? People like him didn't just reach out to folks in her circle without an agenda. "Sure, what's up?" she replied, forcing a smile. "I've been hearing about all the wonderful ideas that came from the meeting today," Jack said, his gaze focused and sincere. "I want to help." Emily blinked, caught off guard. "Help? How?" "I have resources. I could assist with the potluck, donate the food or provide funds for supplies," he said, pulling a notepad from the glove compartment. "We could really build something special here together." His offer was generous, but it came with a tinge of suspicion. "You'd really want to do that?" Emily asked, unsure of his motivations. She had heard tales of his philanthropic work, yet still. "Absolutely. I've seen the community from a distance, and I want to be a part of this. Things like these matter," he insisted. "It's time to give back." There was a sincerity in his eyes that made Emily pause. He seemed different from the rich folks portrayed in tabloids. Perhaps he wasn't just out for publicity. In truth, she was tired of dubious invitations, but something about Jack's invitation stirred her curiosity. "What's your story, Jack?" This was not how she planned to spend her afternoon. She expected to head home, tackle laundry, and prepare dinner, fully prepared to put the day behind her. But there was something irresistible about this moment, a thread connecting two lives that rarely intersected in their quiet little town. "I grew up in a place not too different from here," he admitted, his voice dropping slightly. "I know what it's like to feel isolated. There's magic in community, and it's worth investing in." Emily couldn't help but be pulled in listening to him. Behind the name and the shiny car, there were layers. She found herself envisioning how they could work together, and as the words spilled between them, all her doubts began to evaporate like dew in the sun. "Okay," she said, her heart racing with unexpected excitement. "Let us do this." They exchanged numbers, and as they parted ways, Emily felt a sense of buoyancy. Could this unlikely alliance seed something greater? Yet, As she ambled back towards her home, her mind spiraled. Could she truly trust him? What would it mean to have someone with wealth in their corner? And what would the community think? With her thoughts swirling, Emily barely noticed the dark clouds creeping in above her. She had opened a door, but was she prepared for what lay beyond it? As she reached her front door, she stopped short. The vision of connection that sparked in her heart held promise, but could it withstand scrutiny? The future felt teemingly uncertain, yet she knew one thing for sure: she was standing at the precipice of something life-changing. What would come next? Emily woke up the next morning with a mix of excitement and apprehension fluttering in her chest. She wanted to shake off the doubts that trailed her like shadows. Today, Jack was coming to meet her. They had set up a quick coffee chat to discuss the potluck plans and the community center's needs. It felt like an unpredictable gamble, yet she could sense its potential. After dropping the twins off at their daycare, Emily hurried to the cafe. The bell above the door jingled softly as she entered, and she inhaled the rich aroma of brewing coffee mingling with sweetness from pastries. She spotted Jack sitting at a corner table, his posture relaxed as he scrolled through his phone. "Hey, Jack," she called out, putting on her brightest smile. "Emily." "Glad you made it," he replied, standing to greet her warmly. There was something refreshing about his ease. She couldn't deny it put her at ease too. They ordered their drinks and settled into an easy conversation about the neighborhood and its quirks. Jack spoke of his childhood, his desire for inclusive spaces, and how he longed to help more than just with funding. "I want to be part of the change," he emphasized, his hands animated as he spoke. "I know what it feels like to sit on the sidelines. I want to roll up my sleeves and work alongside you." Emily listened intently, her heart bouncing between skepticism and hope. With each story, she noticed a glimpse behind the polished exterior. Maybe he truly did care. "Well, I believe there's already a lot of enthusiasm among the neighbors," she said, cautiously embracing the idea. "But there's a lot of fear too. Fear of failing, of what people will think if we don't come through." Jack nodded, his expression shifting to something softer, as if he understood. "You're a single mom doing all this while taking care of your twins. That's a lot of weight to carry. It's okay to feel afraid." His acknowledgement struck a chord deep inside her. The struggles of motherhood often felt isolating, yet here was a man one she initially viewed as untouchable validating her feelings. It was like a gaping wound was being gently sewn up, even if only a little. "Thank you," she replied, feeling warm. "I have these dreams, but I often wonder if they're impossible. It's hard to believe in something bigger when all you worry about is the day-to-day." "Don't be afraid to dream," he encouraged, sighing as he sipped his coffee. "Believe me, I've made my share of mistakes too. But if we work on this together, the community will notice. And it will inspire others." Emily thought of the twins, how she wanted to raise them in a neighborhood where kindness thrived, where community mattered. They spent the next hour sharing ideas, sketching out a framework for the potluck. Jack's enthusiasm was infectious, and every passing moment made Emily see the community through a different lens, one filled with possibility. When they finally wrapped up the meeting, Jack shot her a knowing look. "Let us meet next week to finalize everything. I'm confident we can do this, Emily. I believe in you." Gratitude welled within her. As they parted ways, she felt lighter, filled with a new energy. But beneath that surge, a thread of doubt knotted in her stomach. What if she couldn't hold up her end of the deal? What if the community let their insecurities surface? As she walked away, her mind raced with worries. They had made plans, but could she truly stitch together her vision into reality? Upon reaching her front door, her phone buzzed. A message from Jack popped up. "Excited for what comes next? Together, we can make this happen. Remember, I'm here if you need anything." Taking a deep breath, Emily glanced up at the sky. The dark clouds that had loomed yesterday were gone. Instead, the sun warmed her face. But the underlying question remained. Could she make it happen? In that moment, she realized it wasn't just about the potluck anymore. It was about her stepping into a new light altogether. But was she ready for the responsibilities that came with it? What if this was just the beginning, a sign of what lay ahead? As the days rolled on, Emily found herself caught in a whirlwind of preparations. The community potluck was finally within reach, and the excitement buzzing through Cedar Grove felt electric. Every evening after work, she met with residents to finalize plans. They laughed, shared stories, and watched as a dream began to transform into reality. Her initial apprehensions started to fade, replaced instead by a sense of purpose. At the heart of it all was the support from her neighbors, who emerged like flowers after a long winter. Faces she once only waved to now became familiar, each one carrying their own hopes and stories. She learned about Julie, who had a bakery, Marcus, a handyman with a heart of gold, and Lydia, an artist whose vibrant designs brought life to every corner. With Jack's resources backing them, they felt an undeniable thrill of possibility swirl around them. Days merged into a joyful blur, but Emily couldn't let herself forget the reality waiting just outside their united front. She still worried about the neighborhood's doubts and their own barriers. Would they really come together on the day? Would they embrace this spirit of change? The morning of the potluck shimmered like sunlight through the trees, a perfect, bright autumn day. Emily arrived at the community center early, the air crisp with anticipation. Brightly colored banners flapped in the gentle breeze, and tables heaped with homemade dishes lined the room. She took a step back to absorb the scene, her heart swelling with pride. As guests started to filter in, Emily's spirit soared. Families gathered, children dashed about with laughter, and she could feel the weight of worries slowly melting away. People exchanged warm hellos and compliments about each other's dishes, while the aroma of baked goods and savory creations filled the air. Amidst the laughter and chatter, Emily caught a glimpse of Nathan standing quietly near the entrance. Their eyes met, and he offered her a warm smile that lit up his face. She waved him over, her heart filling with gratitude. He was no longer the distant billionaire watched from afar. He was a friend woven into the fabric of their community. As the event buzzed along, Nathan stepped up to the microphone, his commanding presence capturing everyone's attention. "I wanted to take a moment to recognize someone very special," he began, glancing at Emily, who felt her cheeks flush. Emily embodies the spirit of resilience and the heart of Cedar Grove, and it is through her vision that we stand united today. Applause erupted, filling Emily's heart with warmth. It was more than just recognition, it felt like acceptance. In that moment, all of her fears seemed to evaporate. She understood that this was what she had been dreaming of: the comfort, the community, and the safe space to share the burdens of life. "Together, we can achieve so much more," Nathan continued. "This isn't the ending, it's the beginning." The crowd erupted into cheers, and she felt a wave of connection swell within her. They had weathered storms together, battled through uncertainties, and now they stood strong, side by side. Emily's heart raced, aware of the potential for something even bigger than the potluck, perhaps something that could transform their entire community. As the afternoon blended into evening, Emily found herself surrounded by friends and neighbors, sharing stories, laughter, and dreams. Kids played, parents relaxed, and for the first time in a long time, Emily felt truly at home. Without the weight of worries dragging her down, she could see the warmth of possibilities shining brightly ahead. And then, amid the festive chaos, Jack approached, his svelte figure cutting through the light. "I'm so proud of what you've accomplished," he said, his eyes gleaming with sincerity. "You've brought your community together in a way I've never seen before." Emily could hardly contain her smile. "I couldn't have done it without the support of everyone here," she gestured around. "This is just as much theirs as it is mine." "Still, you stepped forward. That took tremendous courage," Jack acknowledged, his voice gentle. "And don't think this is where the journey ends. There's a lot more we can do together. You've sparked something special in Cedar Grove." Gratitude surged within her, filling her chest until it felt like it might burst. "Thank you for believing in me. For believing in us." As evening descended and twinkling lights illuminated the space, Emily felt a renewed sense of purpose wash over her. True transformation was possible, and it created a ripple effect through their lives. Their dreams of community didn't have to be just an abstract idea, they could come to life. With her twins nestled against her side, she looked toward Nathan, Jack, and all her neighbors who had become her family. They were on the brink of something spectacular, a chance to build a future where every voice mattered and where love and support flourished. This is just the beginning, she whispered to herself, letting the heartbeat of the community settle within her. In this moment of possibility, she knew she was precisely where she was meant to be. As the last flickers of light danced above, her heart swelled with warmth and encouragement. They would stand together, face challenges, and celebrate victories as one. And as Emily inhaled deeply, she was washed over with hope, the undeniable feeling that together, they would create a beautiful story worth telling. As the sky deepened to dark, a sense of peaceful resolution settled around her. This was it. This was their moment, transformed from struggle to strength. So, are you ready for your own transformation? Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that could change your life. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. We want to hear your thoughts. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation, because they are counting on you to spread the hope. Don't wait not even one more second. Show the world what community and kindness can do.